I want to share with you some thoughts that I've been thinking about for years. The question is, are grains healthy? In recent years, there have been books written on that subject. Grain Brain, Wheat Belly. A lot of people talk about low carb. Now they're trying to reduce their carbs. Carbs are a bad thing, no matter whether it's they're simple carbs or complex carbs, starches. A lot of people believe that carbs are bad, and grains are mostly carbs, so that would mean grains are bad. We read a book years ago called Against the Grain, and it made a strong case how harmful grains are. So this thought is very pervasive, and I would like to question that and look into that. Some of what a person believes on this, I believe, comes from what their foundation is. If a person believes in evolution, it's consistent that, and it makes sense that grains are a relatively new part of our diet, only in the last 10,000 years or so, and that's very short amount of time in this thinking. The thing I love about America is that there's some deer over there. I don't know if you can see them. Let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. Anyway, one thing I love about America is we have freedom of thought, and we can believe in evolution. I respect that. We can believe in creation. That's where I comes from. Anyway, so in the evolutionary standpoint, from that standpoint, grains are relatively new, relatively recent, and there have been the disease is also relatively recent. Degeneration disease has really increased, especially in the last 50 years or so, 100 years. But many people believe it's because of one of the big reasons is because of the grains. And but from a creation standpoint, from a Bible standpoint, even if you don't come from this perspective, I hope you stay tuned. I'm gonna look at what the Creator, what the owner's manual says in terms of should we eat grains or not. So I hope you hang on for a few minutes. It won't be long, and we'll just run through this. Let's take a look at what the book of Genesis says about diet in general. I like the Blue Letter Bible app. It's right in the center of the screen. That's what we'll use. Let's open that. So in Genesis 1 verse 29, it's the New King James Version says, "And God said, See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food." The way I understand this is that there were two general classes of food given at creation. Number one was the seeds that come from the herb, and number two were the fruit that comes from the trees. Let's look at the word herb here, where it says, "See, I have given you every herb that yields seed." Let's take a look at that. So I'm going to tap on this verse, choose the interlinear, and let's scroll just a little. I've got it set to reverse. I think the default is forward, but I like the reverse interlinear because it puts it in the way that the order that it is in English rather than in the original language. So here's the word herb, esev, and we'll click on that. And we see that it's used 33 times in the King James. 17 of those times it's translated herb. 16 of those times it's translated grass. So another way to understand Genesis 1:29 would be that we're given the seeds that come from the grass. And even to someone who doesn't know a lot about biology, the cereal grains, the wheat, the corn, the oats, the rye, those types of grains are pretty well known that they are seeds that come from grass. So let's look a little bit farther here. And we can see where that Hebrew word esev is used. It's used in Genesis. So in Genesis 1:29 we see it. And also in Genesis 3:18 it says, "Both thorns and thistles that shall bring forth to you, and you shall eat the herb of the field." So after the fall, this was after the fall, Genesis 3:18, after Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit, the herb of the field was given to them to eat, as well as the seeds and the fruit. And then in the very next verse, in Genesis 9:3, it says, "Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. I have given you all things, even as the green herbs." So just in this similar manner as when God gave the green herbs after the fall, around the time of the flood, or after the flood, when there was no vegetation to eat because it had been destroyed by the flood, God told them they could eat the animals. And so God expanded the diet after the fall to include vegetables, and then later to include animal food. Let's go back and let me just summarize the way I see it. Genesis 1:29 says that I've given you every herb that yields seed and every tree whose fruit yields seed. So I understand that to be not that God gave the herb and the trees for us to eat, but he gave us the seeds that come from the herb and the fruit that came from the tree or trees to eat. A very simple diet in the Garden of Eden. The first category, the seeds, could include much more than just the cereal grains. Um, there are quite a few things that are seeds, such as the legumes, the pinto beans, the navy beans, peas, peanuts. Any of these things can be planted. Peas can be planted in if they're the right kind of, or if they haven't been heated or cooked or so forth. Peas will grow and sprout and grow more peas. And same with pinto beans, or any legume is a seed. Things like sesame seeds and pumpkin seeds and sunflower seeds, almonds, those are also seeds. They will grow if they're planted properly. So the first category can include the grains, also the pseudo grains like millet and quinoa, buckwheat, those kinds of things, and the nuts, the almonds and the pecans and the walnuts and the seeds such as sunflower seed, sesame seeds, and flax and chia. So the first category were seeds, the second category were fruit, and that's a very broad category as well. It includes things that we don't normally consider fruit, but botanically they are, like tomatoes and bell peppers and of course apples and oranges and all the different kinds of fruit. So how does this answer the question of our grains? Should we avoid grains or should we minimize? And the way I see it, grains were the first thing that God said to eat, and then fruit was the second thing. So to me, a diet that doesn't include grains or that minimizes them is not in harmony with what we're shown in Genesis. So, food for thought. And if you have some ideas on this, or if you see some places where I've made a mistake or I'm in error, please feel free to comment and let me know what your perspective is. Thanks.